Yes, you guys, welcome back. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and today I'm bringing you guys the match review to our 3-1 win away from home against Brighton in the first game of this new Premier League season. Now for me, this is a big result, an amazing result against a very stubborn and difficult Brighton team. With today's game, it marks a special occasion because we saw the debuts of two of our big summer signings in Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. So of course, you guys expect to hear me break down the performances, give my thoughts and opinions on how their debuts went down. Now, this game wasn't the most exhilarating game that I'm sure that all of us fans were really hoping for. Funny enough, I had us at scoring 3 goals in the game today, but I thought we'd play a lot more expansively, really just taking the game to Brighton, just penning them back in their own half, etc, etc, but it was not to be the case. Does that mean that we weren't good and it was a poor performance? Of course not. You know, when you play football at this level against Premier League teams that have money, great managers too, etc, etc, you need to constantly work hard every single time. You need the right game plan to really prepare the team and get them ready too. And in my personal opinion, we saw all those things, and that was why we got the win against Brighton tonight. Throughout last season, it really felt like we had to constantly play at our very best just to pick up 3 points. But this season, especially with this performance against Brighton, where for me, it was a very good counter-attacking display. You know, there was a clear emphasis on, keeping back in our own half. I'm sure that was to maybe help out with our midfield. I'm sure that was to help out with other players that are just slowly integrating themselves into this team as well. And you guys, we know that every great team needs to have a great defense. But in our case, our defense has to be collective throughout the entire team. Tonight proved that we can play ugly, we can win ugly, and I really think that for our hopes for this season, this is the skill, one of the main skills that we need to learn, we need to improve upon, and we need to master because, when you're a big team, most times you shouldn't have to play your very best game week in, week out to pick up 3 points. So, you guys, that was my very long ass intro. So, without wasting any more time, let me get the plugs out of the way first. Only one plug this time. It's a very late night, you guys. I know that you want to watch this review quickly, then get yourself back to bed. So for today's video, and because this is the new game of the new season, because we saw the debuts of some of our big summer signings too, and because we saw Golazos in this game today, smash the hell out of that like button. I'm going to go over 7,000 likes for the first match review of the new season. So let's see what happens, you guys. And from this point on, without wasting any time, we get straight into the match review, starting with the lineup first. Now, we already knew before this game even started that both Kovacic and Ziyech wouldn't be taking any part in this game today. Now, personally, I felt like the loss of Ziyech was definitely felt, already in that friendly. His ability to just split open Brighton's defense, some of the weighted passes, I felt like in this game tonight, we could have done with that ability in the final thirds. But, Lampard picks the very best team that he could at this point in time. We saw a 4-2-3-1 formation. We saw Jorginho and Kante in a pivot together. We saw Loftus-Cheek playing as the shadow striker in the team, with Mason Mount down the left-hand side and Kai Havertz down the right, with Timo Werner up front. And we also saw a defense without Azpilicueta in the team. Now for me, is this Frank Lampard setting the precedent right now? We've understood for a very long time that Lampard wants to have capable fullbacks in his team and for us to achieve his main goals. Because all throughout last season, you guys, that was not Frank Lampard's football at its purest. That was like a bastardization of Lampard's football. Lampard had to adapt to various players at his disposal as well. And of course, naturally, it did mean that sometimes Lampard couldn't really implement the football he wants to see. So seeing Reece James and Alonso, and you can imagine that Ben's going to replace him very soon. That's the big thing to see. Now I'm going to speak about the game for a bit, and you know what? This game was very difficult. Both teams really did well to cancel each other out, and with both teams, they both like to play down the flanks. They create overloads down those areas, they play in the half spaces, between the lines, etc, etc, and that's how they play their games. So when you have two teams with a similar philosophy coming up against each other, it does mean that they are going to cancel each other out, and due to this, we saw signs of this countlessly. For example, how many times, especially in the first half, did we see our defense constantly playing passes sideways, sideways, sideways? It happened left, right and centre, and the main reason for that was due to Brighton outmanning us in midfield. Now, whenever Jorginho and Kante came to, receive passes from the defence, Brighton had about 3 midfield players on our 2, and due to overloading us in that area, it did mean that we couldn't penetrate them between the lines as much as we wanted to do. Now, these were the same tactics that we also used against Brighton too. And for me personally, when I see games like this, I do enjoy them. I do find them interesting. I find the tactical battles very intriguing, because it then means that the quality that you have to produce to just, overcome the opposition tactics has to be on point, has to be good, and that was something that we definitely saw in today's game. Now, from this point on, of course, I want to speak about the debutants in Timo Werner and Kai Havertz. Now, starting with Timo Werner, and the most interesting thing was seeing how he was used as our striker. Now, being Chelsea fans, most times we've tended to see a target man forwards, an advanced forward, etc, etc. We haven't really tended to see a false 9 striker. Yes, we've seen players like Hazard attempt to play that role, but we've never really used that role properly until Werner's come, and I found it very interesting to see the positions that Werner was constantly taking up and moving into. In particular, we saw him drift down the left-hand side constantly, and in that sense, he gave us an excellent counter-attacking option, because down that left-hand side, you give Werner space and he's going to use his ridiculous acceleration, explosive speed and short distances to literally just bypass any single person. We saw that for the first goal when he got the penalty. That's what he does. But on top of that, you guys, it was also the other positions that we saw Werner pick up too. At times, he was even receiving passes in the halfway line, and whenever Werner was able to roam in the final thirds, which is something that obviously Lampard is really encouraging him and wants Werner to do, we'd either see Loftus-Cheek maybe move into the striker position, or we'd see Kai Havertz move to that vacated area. So this is what I've been speaking about all throughout last season, you guys. I know how we play because I've seen our academy. It's always been about positional rotation and fluidity, etc, etc. For me, that really is the Chelsea way, and that's the way we're trying to play now. Literally just taking the academy methods and implementing those methods to even better effects for the first team players. So I thought Werner was very fluid. I thought he worked really hard. I thought his timing of his runs was really good too. Unlucky and unfortunate that he wasn't presented too many opportunities on goal, but he looked very effective. He looks very sharp, and I thought this was a good debut to have. We now move on to Kai Havertz, and with Havertz, he played down the right hand side. This wasn't really too much of a surprise with Ziyech being out. We needed to have a quality option down the right hand side, and due to COVID and clubs not really being able to have proper pre-seasons, in a sense, I guess this was kind of like a pre-season game for Kai Havertz. Down that right hand side where he's not really too involved in the play at times, for me, meant that Havertz could focus on other things that I'm sure Lampard really wants to see from him throughout this entire season. And the main thing that really impressed me the most was how hard Kai Havertz worked today. I mean, wow. He really worked hard. He really put in a shift. His shorts were absolutely muddy. He was going in for slide tackles. He made that sensational backwards run to intercept that moment right at the end. Havertz played for the team. That is a big thing to see because during his Leverkusen days, he wasn't particularly known for his defensive work rate. I'm sure Havertz knew that when he signed for us, he'd have to really up that work rate and up that effectiveness. And I'm sure Lampard would have been very impressed to see the amount of effort that Havertz put in the game today. Because realistically, if Ziyech was still fit, then Havertz would have come off from the bench. It really is that simple. But now, you guys, let's continue on with this match review. Let's break down the goals first. Of course, the first goal was a bit of fortune on our side. We get the penalty. Very poor play from Brighton, losing the ball on the halfway line. Jorginho intercepting that, playing it to Werner, who then tries to round the keeper, gets brought down, and then Jorginho puts the ball in the back of the net. It moves forward to the second half where Brighton get a very early goal coming from Trossard, and I think the main person and the main culprit for that goal was Kepa again. Now, can he even really be angry and frustrated? I don't think so, because we've seen this time and time again. Now, the great thing is that we have signed our replacement goalkeeper already in Mendy. He's going to be here very, very soon. But for me, the goal that Kepa conceded tonight was a bit similar to the goal that Bellerin scored against us when Arsenal picked up that 2-2 draw at Stamford Bridge. You know, he jumped too early. He didn't anticipate the ball. Yeah, it felt like a very weak effort, to be honest, and it wasn't good enough. Definitely not good enough, but thank God, Mr. Tank himself, Reece James, he comes through in the moment we need him. He gets the second goal for us after the equalising goal that Brighton scores. And wow, what a ridiculous goal that was. What a Golazo. I waited for a very long time to see Reece absolutely just bang a goal in the back of the net. I saw that today. And even how he scored that goal, I mean, when he receives that pass, literally he just sets himself up for the shot with one touch perfectly. Second touch, boom, perfect technique, dipping shot top right corner, excellent goal. And for me, I thought Reece looked absolute class today. And you know what's interesting too is the comparison that I was constantly making between him and Tariq Lamptey. Now for me, I thought Lamptey looked extremely bright today, extremely talented and extremely youthful. Compared to Reece James, Reece looks like a seasoned pro that's been playing this sport for many, many years. Particular moments where Reece James is in and maybe Tariq is in, you get better quality and end product from Reece James. The goal he scored, absolutely unreal. How many headers was he constantly winning? How many interceptions? Great defending. Reece is someone that can do both. Defense, attack, and of course he can even play in midfield too, as we saw him play in the final 10 minutes replacing Jorginho. I thought it was a very great performance, and I'm very excited to see how Reece's game is going to step up and go to an even better level, playing alongside players like Ziyech's and Kai Havertz's too. Now you guys, just before I end this match review and wrap things up, I'm going to give some closing thoughts and observations from the game today. For me, some low-key performances of the day came from N'Golo Kante. I really felt like he gave us the defensive platform, and I really stressed that the defensive platform that helped us get this win today. It was all the low-key work, like the constant harrying of Brighton players down the flanks, really just stopping those counter-attacks and slowing them down. The amount of vital interceptions from set pieces in midfield too, the amount of ground he covered, and just comparing how Kante dealt with situations compared to Jorginho was literally night and day. For example, there was a moment where Trossard just absolutely spanned Jorginho like 2 or 3 times. That never happened to Kante throughout the entire game today, and for me, a lot of our hopes are going to come down to how fit Kante remains throughout the season. If he's on point, if he's fully fit, then I think we definitely have a fighting chance of doing something special this season. But if Kante was the low-key performer of the day, I'd say probably the worst performer of the day was Loftus-Cheek. Now, we have to understand this straight away. He is coming back from a very, very serious injury. Do the research on Google, you guys. It takes players months and time to really get back to their peak footballing prowess. I'm sure that's something that Lampard, the medical staff, and the coaches, and Ruben already know. And I guess that's one of the main reasons why Ruben is being played in positions where maybe he can be supported defensively by other players around him. This was so uncharacteristic. There was a moment in particular where he should have really settled Werner. It was like a 2v1. He messed the pass up, something you never ever see, and I think that really highlighted his game. So surprise, surprise, the moment he went off and Barkley came on, it felt like we had an extra man in the final third. I think that we shouldn't really panic or worry. We have to understand that we didn't have a pre-season. Players need time to get back to full peak and fitness, and in Ruben's case, he is still coming back from a very serious injury. But you guys, big 3-1 win today against Brighton. I feel like this was an ugly win, a hard-fought win, and the types of wins that I want to see throughout this season more and more. Because for me, these are the wins full of substance. Tonight, we show that substance. 3-1 against Brighton. And there you guys, that is it. That was the match review for the game today. I hope you guys enjoyed. In the comments below, give me your thoughts and opinions on the game. And on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos.